Hey y'all, welcome back to At the Table podcast, the virtual table where we discuss all things young adulting. This podcast is a very special episode as we are brought with Miss Nigeria USA, Udeme, as she talks about the behind the scenes of pageant life. She talks through her beautiful story of growth and persistence, and also we touch on mental health just a little bit. This podcast is a great podcast for young adults, and please, as you are listening to this, if you haven't already, be sure to follow or subscribe and also rate us. It really helps us be able to grow our audience, and it also helps me be able to bring more people on here who are making an impactful and amazing difference within our communities. All right, are you ready to listen? Welcome to At the Table. Hey, Udeme, hi.
Hello, how are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Super blessed. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be chatting with you today.
Thank you. So, before we start, I would like to do an icebreaker with you, and it's just going to be a short little this or that, but I think it will be fun. Are you ready?
I think I'm ready.
Okay. All right. So, the first one is jollof rice or fried rice?
Hey, jollof. Oh, that
Jollof.
was really easy. Yeah.
Really? I'm a fried rice girl.
You know, I love fried rice, but truly, if I have to choose, if someone's like, you can only have one and like, I'm going to put it on your plate, I will choose jollof rice every day. Mm-hmm.
You know what? You're right. You're right. Because it's like it's the you know it's gonna be good. Fried rice can be fishy sometimes, but you know jollof rice it's a pretty straight thing. All right.
You really have to work hard to mess up jollof rice.
For real.
I'm gonna say that with my chest. Yeah, truly.
For real. Okay, next one. Davido or Odumedu?
Davido.
Why?
He's got some hits that really resonate with me. And also he lives in Atlanta, and I have a lot of friends in Atlanta. So I'm going with Davido.
Okay. I can respect that. Me too. Ankara or lace?
I love this question. I am an Ankara queen. So even when I'm at work, when I am going to the grocery store, I'm wearing Ankara, so I have to choose Ankara.
Yeah. Same here. Nollywood or Hollywood?
Oh, you really brought out the big guns with this one. Oh, no, because I like both of them for different reasons.
That's true.
You know?
Yeah.
I think I'll have to say, oh my gosh. Yeah, it's the USA part of me coming out. I'm going to have to say Hollywood.
You know what? I'm not whispering this. I was going to say Hollywood too.
I love both of them. But like, I don't know. When I'm like at home and I have like, you know, a nice cup of tea, I'm on a couch, I'm relaxing, I'll probably put on a Hollywood movie before a Nollywood movie. Nollywood, that's like a day of like just watching a bunch of movies. Like that's kind of how I take in Nollywood movies. But I don't know. I'm going to have to stick to my guns and go with Hollywood.
I respect that. Okay. So let's see this. This is going to be a good one. Nigerian street food or fine dining?
Why are you doing this? Oh, no. Because, you know, I'm from Akwa Ibom, so our food is amazing. Oh, no. Do I have like a skip, like
you know
one
what?
skip token?
I'm going to give that to you. Yeah, you can have the skip.
Thank you so much. Yeah, please don't cancel me. I'm keeping neutral on this one. Yeah, I love fine dining, and then I love Nigerian street food.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna utilize that skip token. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's okay. I completely understand.
I hope the other questions aren't too bad.
Ooh, let's see. They're not as pepper soup or egusi?
Pepper soup.
Okay.
100%.
Okay. Suya or akara?
Suya.
Yeah.
Yes.
Listening to a podcast or watching vlogs?
Listening to a podcast. That took me a moment. That took me a moment.
Same. Okay, we're done now.
Okay, no problem. That was a really good icebreaker. I feel like I'm ready for the other, for the interview. I love this.
All right. I'm excited. I'm excited. But usually when I have people, well, usually I ask a question and it's, what are you snacking on? We're at the table. What are you snacking on? So really it's like, what's going on in your life? What's happening? Like, what is top of mind? What are you snacking on?
Well, I'm gonna actually start off with a quite literal response,
Mm-hmm.
and that's grapes. I love grapes. Grapes are literally just so refreshing. I'm kidding. So
I
I'm
love grapes
snacking
too, though.
on.
Love
Um,
grapes.
I right now, I feel like the moment you asked that question, the first word that popped into my mind was transition, positive transition and negative transitions, and having the grace and drive and discipline to a certain extent to go with the flow and to welcome those transitions. Obviously, the past couple months have been a lot for me because I won Miss Nigeria USA in September. And it was a pageant that I worked really hard for. I had a strong and loving team, be it family or actual pageant professionals that were helping me prepare. And then and everything that came after winning, I had to get used to it. I'm very used to kind of putting other people on a pedestal. I'm used to shining light on other people. And so I remember I was the backstage correspondent at the Afrima Music Awards in Dallas, like only weeks after I had won. And I was like going around interviewing some of the nominees, some of the special guests, some of the VIPs. And I was talking to them and I was like hyping them up and I had so much fun. But like every now and again, someone would come up to me and be like, "Oh, can I interview you?" And I was like, "Wow." And like, "What are you talking about?" But then I was still thinking about how, I have this sash across my chest. I have this crown on my head. And, people might want to hear what I have to say or might want to chat with me, get to know me. So that transition, although it was positive, it was still, and I dare say it is still something that I have to like be so intentional with. I have to be aware of myself and also be aware of the possibility that people are going to want to come up to me and talk to me. So, and then when I do highlight somebody, it's that's Udeme highlighting that person. That's Udeme like being like, "Oh, I see you. You're doing amazing. Like I just want to give you your flowers," you know? And then as Miss Nigeria USA, like trying my best to accept that as well. Yes, I have to be intentional and like mindful of that. And then when it comes to negative transitions, because there have been a lot of things that have happened since I won, although I don't talk about it publicly, I am still very public about like I'm a mental health advocate. And so negative transitions in my life have been plenty the past couple months. And having the grace and the faith to recognize that yes, this is happening. This is happening for a reason. Let's see if we can find that reason and really hone in on this lesson. But it's also you can get through this because you are faithful and like you're God fearing and there is a plan, there's a purpose for everything that happens in life. And so although there are certain things that are tough right now or challenges right now, you're going to get through it. And I have this very odd feeling that 2024 is just not just for me. Like I know that 2024 is going to be spectacular, but I feel like with a lot of people going through certain things right now, once we get into the groove of 2024, a lot of things are going to change. People have gone through so much the last 4 years. We're going to enter 2024 with a newfound sense of confidence, faith in ourselves, in God, and in whatever entity anyone believes in, and we're just going to prosper. And that's how I feel. That's what I've been chewing on. Those are my snacks. I don't
Oh,
know if I said that
that was
right.
fantastic. Like, I'm even sitting here like, Wow, really reflecting on everything you're saying. There's a reason why you won Miss Nigeria. Oh my gosh, that was so
You're
good.
testing me. You just said that the transition to take compliments is hard. Okay.
But everything you said is so true. Like sometimes I think of transition like a step, right? And then you take this big step and you're on a new step, but then you can't help but look back and be like, wow, I've elevated. Like I'm on a different plane. And of course, with everything that is new, there's going to be challenges. And I feel like some people don't acknowledge that enough, or we don't talk about it, but there will be a rough patch. And it's just even so beautiful to hear that something like having an award as graceful as Miss Nigeria, it's completely different. It's a new territory you're stepping in and you're still navigating that. I think that's a thing that we will constantly continue to learn throughout life. And young people, especially since that's the audience that I'm catering to, like we should hear that. We should know that. And whenever things like this happen, we shouldn't let it scare us from doing well, but just expect it and move through it. I loved that.
Thank you.
I
I feel
loved
like
that.
it's just so, I feel like it's in everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when you highlight it or like you point it out, everyone's like, oh my goodness, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because, this isn't just like my idea. It's after conversation with my mom, with my sister, my loved ones, and really just realizing that we need to be a little bit more, we'll give ourselves a little bit more grace and give
Mm-hmm.
others grace, so on and so forth.
Beautiful. So, speaking of Miss Nigeria, can you share your journey to us towards becoming Miss Nigeria USA? How did that happen? To walk us through all of it.
Sure. So in 2019, I actually won this pageant called Miss Aquibum USA. It's produced by the Aquibum Association here in the United States. It's a nonprofit. And you're really just being like an ambassador for the organization, which is catered to the Aquibum diaspora. It's kind of challenging to win the pageant because it was challenging for me because my mom and dad didn't necessarily teach my sister and I, like sit down and intentionally teach my sister and I about our Aquibum, Ibibio, Oron culture. But because it lived in them so deeply, we picked up on it. We picked up on a lot of stuff. They didn't purposely teach us our language or our native language because they didn't want us to be discriminated against in the United States. Like if you have an accent at that time, if you have an accent, you were seen as, being lesser than or not necessarily being intelligent. So they were like, you know, they love their culture. They love being Ibibio, or my mom's Ibibio, my father is Oron, but they were just like, focus on being American. We don't want y'all to have any trouble or any pushback while you're growing up. And so I still was surrounded by the Aquibum culture, Aquibum communities wherever we lived. And so in 2019, I ran for Miss Aquibum USA. It was my first pageant, contesting, and I won, and it was super awesome. It was beautiful. And when I won, oh wait, my timeline is messed up. While I was preparing for Miss Aquibum USA, I actually attended Miss Nigeria USA when a young lady named Idara was Miss Nigeria USA 2017. She was from Aquibum, and she did such an amazing job as queen. I actually noticed, I heard about Miss Nigeria USA because someone was talking about Idara. So I was just like, oh, this is amazing. I really want to see if I can be a part of this. I went to the pageant. I watched it. I watched my predecessor, Funke, get crowned, which was amazing because I literally went to the pageant to cheer on my friend's friend, Oluchi, who was the first runner up. She was representing Abia State. And as I was in the pageant, I was cheering for Oluchi. I was rooting for her, but like Funke kept like catching my eye. And so when she won, I was so happy. I was like really proud of her. Of course, I was super proud of Oluchi. Like she's the absolute best, like queen of queens, truly. Oluchi ended up winning Miss World Nigeria 2021. I think that is the right. Yes, girl. And she did amazing when she went to Miss World. she's literally the queen of queens. I love Oluchi and very much inspired by her in like the continuation of my pageant career. So I watched the pageant in 2019, and then in August of that year, I went and competed and I won Miss Aquarium USA. So after I won Miss Aquarium USA, I talked to my pageant mentor. Her name is Essie. She was Miss Aquarium USA in 2017. If that's the wrong year, I'm going to hear about it. She's gonna be like, "Baby girl, you got my year wrong." But I'm gonna stand on business and say 2017. I told her, I said, I really want to do Miss Nigeria USA. And she was like, yes, let's keep an eye out on the pageant. Let's see, how everything goes, and we'll start preparing you. We'll get you ready, and we're gonna get you that crown. And then 2020 comes, and they obviously cancel the Miss Nigeria USA 2020 because of the Rona. Exactly. So it was okay. I decided that I would do Miss Florida USA because at that time I was still living in Tampa. And so I signed up for Miss Florida USA. I was honored to represent New Tampa, which was the area that I lived in when I was younger. And I met such a rich group of women, especially the beauty queens in Tampa, but like all over Florida. I met amazing women. But when we competed, none of us like got top 15 or anything like that, which was really that hit me really hard because I just came off of, winning Miss Aquarium USA. So I was like, I can easily, place top 15 at Miss Florida USA. When Miss Aquarium USA and Miss Florida USA are two completely different books in two completely different libraries in two completely different countries. Like, it's not even a joke. Florida USA at that time was run by a very strong woman, Robin Fleming, and she ran us like we were professionals. She was like, this is what we're doing here, this is what we're doing here, and it was so organized. It was jam packed with activities. I did not expect it to be so tough. My goodness, it was mind boggling. It really was. But it was probably one of the best experiences that I could have had to really solidify my passion and love for pageantry, helping people prepare for pageants, just being a loving sister, like, and like fellow candidate. Like, it really transformed the way I look at pageants. And so after Florida USA, I think it was one of the teen competitors at Florida USA that convinced me to do Miss Earth USA. So it's a different system. Obviously, when you win Miss Earth USA, you go to Miss Earth International competition. And although I never really expected to win Earth USA because it wasn't part of my plan. Like, it's not me not having faith in myself. I just didn't really have a want to be Miss Earth USA. I just wanted to experience another system, be a part of like, another class of girls, and then kind of see how I have evolved from Florida USA, and then, see how I can evolve from experiencing Miss Earth USA. So long story short, I prepared for that pageant. I won Champion of Diversity, which is like an award that is voted on by all of your fellow pageant sisters. And it was really nice to be recognized for Champion of Diversity because every single time I left my room, I was wearing Ankara. I was wearing, my hair was in braids for the pageant. I literally was wearing Nigeria on my chest while competing for Miss Earth USA. And and it just felt very normal. I didn't feel like I was doing too much. It didn't feel like I wasn't doing enough. It was just like, this is who I am and this is what you're gonna get. You're gonna get what comes out of this hotel room. Like, that's how I felt. Um, and so I met another fabulous group of girls that I'm still very close with right now, still. And we've been talking about how we want to continue our pageant careers, philanthropic careers, or our philanthropic activities. And I told myself, I was like, I've been trying to represent or be represented by systems that don't necessarily see me for who I am. They see the American side of a Nigerian American woman, right? They're looking at the American side of a Nigerian American woman. So I was like, I need to do something that highlights who I am or recognizes who I am exactly as a whole. And I love that you just said entirely, because after Florida, USA, I actually applied for MBGN, Most Beautiful Girl Nigeria. I did the screening and I wasn't selected to cast in Lagos, which was sad, but it was literally like a week or two after Miss Florida USA. So like I probably was still in a funk. No, I definitely was still in a funk after my experience at Florida USA, just my experience of not placing. Everything else was perfectly fine. um, and then after Earth USA, I gave myself a little bit more time and then I applied for MBGN again. But when I applied, this was August 2022, because it was literally the same weekend as my sister's wedding. I had applied, I put in a video. The video was really nice. And then during the pre-screening, which is streamed online, I did a really good job. And I felt like the response from like a lot of Nigerian pageant blogs was super positive, and it just made me really happy. Like I absolutely loved it. I was like, this is really great. I was really hoping that I was going to go to Lagos and be selected for screening. I mean, for casting, but I wasn't selected again, even though like there were some pageant blogs that were like, Udeme looks like she's, going to be on this list of girls that get selected to compete, but I wasn't chosen. And I'm actually really happy that I did it a second time, because when they didn't choose me, although I was really sad, and to be very honest and still humble, I was confused, but it happened and the time wasn't right. And I was like, okay, fine, no problem. But I really did appreciate the fact that there were people that saw me. There were people from Nigeria that were like, oh, wow, this girl, she's really bringing the heat. She's speaking well. She's, doing her thing. And she seems to have a good head on her shoulders. I really appreciated that energy. So that's when I solidified I'm doing Miss Nigeria USA no matter what. And this was 2022. By that time, they did not announce if they were going to be doing another pageant, because they had been on hiatus since 2020. And so I kind of just kept my eyes open. I was looking, I was watching, and I know I'm going on and on and on, but like I really want to paint the picture of this wasn't just me sitting on Instagram one day, seeing the pageant post and me being like, oh, I'm going to do this. This is a long time. This is 4 years coming. Once that flyer was posted, I was bombarding them with emails. And like, I was like, oh, how do we apply? Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. And then they were like, it's on the website. Like, go to the website and apply. Please, just do it. And I'm like, this is the opportunity. And one thing I want to highlight is the fact that this was the end of 2022 that they, like December or November of 2022, that they had posted the application. I was 28 at the time. And I don't know why, but I thought that the age cutoff was 27. So when I initially saw the flyer, I was like, oh my goodness, I have 3 girls from previous pageants that I've produced that would do amazing in this pageant. I want to apply them for this pageant. Like, I want to see if we can get them as contestants. And so I went on the website and I saw that the age limit was 29. And I was like, Udeme, this is your last chance. Do you want to take it, or do you want to like be, a part of the path for someone else to, accomplish this goal? Because this is something I've been thinking of for years. So that's when I applied. That's why then I was like, oh, I just want to make sure age limit 29. Yeah, everything's cool. And then they're like, yes, please go and do this. Like, it's on the website for a reason. So I applied. when I applied, the anticipated pageant date was May 2023. So as I'm applying in November, my brain is telling me that the pageant is in May. I was going into full pageant mode, like, nutrition, fitness, walking practice, styling, figuring out what outfits I want to get, seeing what the categories of, well, I already knew what the categories of competition were, but really deep diving into each category of competition, evening gown, traditional, there's an opening dance, there's on-stage question, everything. I took note of all of that. And then they announced in, I think it was January or February, that the pageant was actually going to happen in September. So I took a little bit of time, to like focus on work and stuff like that, but I was still keeping heavy on my fitness and my nutrition. And then once it got closer to September, I definitely like put in a lot more work when it came to walking practice, on stage question prep, and also prepping for a week of having eyes on you. It, Sometimes people don't realize that camp is in the Nigerian pageant world, they call it camp. But like literally just in like American pageant world, they call it just pageant week, really. And you sometimes, and I will say, it doesn't really matter which country you're in or what system you're in. If you are new to the pageant game, sometimes you don't realize how important quote unquote camp is. Like you're spending 4 to 5 days most of the time for like a national pageant. 4 to 5 days rooming with somebody that you don't necessarily know, living out of suitcases, having to do your own makeup, keep your hair, right, keep your nails together, keep your toenails together, like everything. And on top of that, trying not to get sick, keeping yourself like with vitamins, keeping yourself up with, vitamin C, and then keeping yourself awake and like and cognizant, because it's like every moment someone has their eyes on you, and it doesn't matter who that person is, them perceiving you the way they perceive you, it's super important. It might not be on the judging sheet like, oh, how was she during camp? But it's, if someone watches you like a volunteer, like we had house moms that would make sure that we, went to sleep on time. We weren't like running amok and like breaking things in the Airbnb, but like they were paying attention to all the girls. And so it's easy for me to feel like, oh, I need to do everything and I need to help everybody. So I had to actively be like, okay, help when asked. Like, don't just barge out of nowhere and try to like be the savior, because sometimes that can look fake, even though that's how you are. So your people's eyes are always on you. It doesn't matter if it's a contestant or a volunteer or even people that are part of the pageant. So that was part of my preparations, being mindful of that and recognizing like how I'm going to react to certain things, and yeah, how I will react or not react to certain things. And then, yeah, September came around. Well, no, August came around. We all checked into the Airbnb. We were doing practices. We were doing like all these things, and I just kind of tried to keep my best foot forward and tried to keep my mind clear, because like I did feel a little bit of imposter syndrome, because the previous queen, Funke, was someone that I looked up to. She was literally on American Idol. She's hosted events. She's spoken on panels. She's she's amazing. And I'm not even like, this is a shameless plug for Funke, because I love her so much. Being not only in her presence, because like she's talked to us as a class before, but like just being in the place where she was, I was like, I don't know. I felt like I wasn't supposed to be there. And I had to continuously remind myself, like, no, you deserve to be here. You wanted to be here. You are here. Let's rock with it. Let's move forward and let's stay focused. So I know I literally took like 35 minutes to talk about my preparations, but it's, like I said, super important for people to recognize this isn't a drop of a dime thing. Like you really, because you need to put so much into preparation, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of sacrifice, financially, emotionally, physically, all that stuff. So taking that into consideration is super important, and recognizing that even after all that sacrifice, because I'm not the only girl that was on that stage that practiced for months, that put in, thousands of dollars into this pageant. I'm not the only one. The only difference is that at the end of the night, I was the one with the crown. But there have been several times where I've put in so much effort and so much time and money, and I ended up not being the one with the crown. So I understand like how it feels, and I also want people to recognize that it's not just getting the title at the end of the day. It's the growth that you experience during the process. And you're only going to get growth out if you sacrifice. That's
Yeah.
really it.
I love how you went in depth actually, because this is applicable to life, not even passion world, but life. One thing that I heard and that I really resonated with that you said is, I mean, failing is fine. And a lot of people, business people say this, like failing is fine. You just need to make sure you fail forward. You cannot let your failures or your setbacks or your disappointments stop you and keep you. Like use it to propel you to the next step. And that's something that it sounds like you went through and you experienced through your pageant life, and also transcends every other topic, conversation, limitation, endurance of life. And that was amazing. And I just love that you went in depth, because you're even opening me up to a world that I didn't know anything about, number one, and that I thought was so like simple, you know? And that's why like I love having these type of conversations, because it gives you the backstage. It allows you to see the depth that all of these things take to get to where you have. So it even gives me a bigger appreciation of, oh my goodness, I'm so happy you won. And now I want to look up Funke and see like who she is, because
Look her up. I love
I
Funke. Oh
will.
my God.
I will, because these are the type of role models we need out here, for real. You and Funke, it's amazing. Amazing. So, I do have a question. Speaking of role models, who were your role models growing up, and how did they influence you into holding this title?
Wow. This is a really good question. And so I'm hesitant to talk deeply about it. And you will, no, no, no. You'll realize why, because it's important to talk about these things. First off, on a personal level, role models include obviously my mother, single mom, raised two crazy kids, crazy Nigerian, beautiful women, and made sure that we had everything that we needed, made sure that we were wrong and to a certain extent stubborn, to make sure that when we want something or when we are fighting for something, it's not over until it's over. She instilled that in my older sister and I. As I've heard, at least in America, that the relationship between a mother and a daughter can sometimes be strained. Just, I don't know the science behind it. I don't know if there's even science behind it, but I do believe that as a as a teen, I feel like I was really tough on my mom, to be completely honest. And so the fact that my mother and I are so much closer and like see each other, like I see her as human and she sees me as human. Of course, she's my mom, but we see each other as human beings. I absolutely love that. And that's where we are today. And I'm so blessed to have my mother still with me. I'm extremely blessed to be able to talk about her accomplishments and how her accomplishments helped motivate me to keep moving and keep pushing forward. But role models in the pageant industry, like a lot of girls, I can't believe it's still really hard for me to talk about this. It's crazy. So my role models in the pageant industry are Zozibini Tunzi, who is Miss Universe 2019. She's from South Africa. She's literally gorgeous. I love her. She's very powerful. And I love the fact that she, during her reign as Miss Universe, got a lot of pushback from fans because she was Black. I think Zosie's a little bit darker than I am. And I'm not even that dark, to be completely honest. But a lot of people were attacking her and coming for her because she's so black, saying that she's not beautiful. Miss Universe is supposed to be beautiful. Nah, 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 nah. And I don't know, obviously, I've never met her. I don't know how she felt internally, like in her mind, but I am confident to say that she might have heard those things, but pushed those things all the way to the side because the way that she held herself and carried herself during her reign, she was flawless. She was phenomenal. And it was seeing that black girl on stage winning and being so graceful that made me feel like, okay, let me push and actually see what this pageant world is about, truly. And so my second role model is Cecily Chris, which is she is Miss USA 2019. And she was my role model after she obviously won Miss USA. And I kind of looked into her previous like pageant career and like she had a JD and an MBA, which was a path that I thought I wanted to go down. So like she was an athlete, she was a track star, like beautiful, long, natural, curly black hair, like everything about her was perfect in my eyes. And it became difficult for me to talk about her because she unfortunately took her life not too long ago. And as a teen, I struggled with those thoughts and tendencies. And so seeing someone that I just adored struggle and succumb to something that I pushed through. Unfortunately, like fortunately several times. I pushed through it several times, but like seeing her succumb to those thoughts and feelings really took a toll on me. So every day, like even like looking at my phone right now, she's literally my wallpaper because like I love her so much. But my love for her, my admiration for her lives on because she left such a legacy in being a strong Black woman, being vocal, being true to yourself, and being open with hearing the opinions of others, but also still recognizing what is right and what is wrong. And if there's a line or like if there's a gray area in what is right and what is wrong in whatever situation you're discussing or you're in, just going with your gut and wanting to lead with humility rather than leading with maybe fear or hate or ignorance, you know? So those are things that she taught me. Mind you, I have never met this woman in my life. I've never met her in my life. But like there was like this one time I she posted something on Instagram. I sound like such a like a fan. But like she posted something on Instagram and I shared it and she shared my share. And I was like, oh, I flipped out. And like I like messaged, I DM'd her and I was like, I'm not gonna be weird, but like I'm literally crying right now. I love you. And she sent me like a couple hearts and I was like, literally, that was the highlight of my 2021. Literally. So I love her. And she's definitely like my idol. She's why I want to be as authentically me as possible, especially in pageantry. She's not even Nigerian. She's not even like quote unquote like, African. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? But it was just her light that shined that really made me look at pageantry differently.
Wow.
So those are my two pageant role models. And of course, my mama is my lifeline. So
Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. Okay.
pleasure.
How do you feel about representing Nigerian culture and the heritage and like bringing it to an international platform?
This is a beautiful question. I think it's a really big responsibility because of how vast our diaspora is. And I'm speaking of the Nigerian diaspora. I'm speaking of like Nigerian people all over the world, I think it's really important to, when you are in a place like this, listen a lot more than talk. And that's kind of what I've been trying to do. I've only been in this role for a couple months now. I think I'm on month 5, but I like to talk to people about how they feel about Nigeria, especially like my uncles and aunts, be them back home in Nigeria or be them here in the United States. I like to talk to people about how they feel Nigeria is doing politically, economically, our education system, and just figuring out like how our society is operating. And I've realized that a lot of people do notice that Western culture is kind of bleeding into Nigerian culture, or at least in the diaspora, obviously. But I mean, like, that could be good and that can be bad at the same exact time, honestly. But it really just matters that we keep true to our culture and our traditions, the traditions and culture that aren't oppressive, of course. I just want to be very clear with that. But listening is the main thing that I want to do in this role while I'm currently in my reign. Of course, I would love to talk and give my opinion and then also share the opinions of others, obviously the ones that I can remember because I talk to a lot of people. But being a being a representative is should mainly be about hearing the stories of the people that you are representing and then being able to talk about, the consensus. Because there are people that believe that Nigeria, although there are some rough patches here and there, Nigeria is perfectly fine. And we will continue to prosper and we will continue to shine and produce smartest, most beautiful, most athletic, most successful people on this earth. And then there are people that feel like Nigerians are only smart, successful, and are able to achieve so much once they leave Nigeria. And it's like, I want to collect, I feel like I sound like a scientist. I want to collect a lot more data about that. I want to know why people feel that way. Is it like personally what they experience? Is it, factual based on, data that has already been collected? And then also what are the indications that maybe Nigeria as a country is not growing, or it's only growing because of, Japa syndrome and stuff like that. Like, is Japa syndrome bringing us down, or is there actually like a silver lining that is showing that it's going to bring us up at some point? And if people decide to come back to Nigeria after leaving, getting their education, will we be able to be sustained? Like, will we be able to bring the knowledge that we gathered from outside of Nigeria, bring it back and actually help change Nigeria or help improve some aspects of Nigeria? Or are there people, or is there a system that has been set in place to not allow certain growth? Conversations like that, because there are people that believe, yes, this is very true. There are people that are like, what are you talking about? No, people just don't want to come back. People just, when I was competing for Miss Aquarium USA, that was my onstage question. And the reason why I remembered that question from 2019 to now is because I was shook while I was answering that question on stage. It was, I don't remember verbatim, but it was literally like, why do you think people leave Nigeria, get education, and stay out of Nigeria? And what do you think the youth need to motivate them to, once they get their education, come back to Nigeria and try to, enhance and build? And my response was, we need assurance that when we come back to rebuild or to strengthen, that something will actually come of those efforts. Because I think the only reason someone would not do that, especially for a country that they were born in or a country that they love so dearly, they would only do that if they wouldn't, living in Nigeria after being in a different country wasn't sustainable, you know? And then if your efforts are being put into maybe climate change in Nigeria or the education system or, the health sector, if if it's not going to make a difference, why am I going to go back home and sacrifice, there's that word again, for years to try and make all these changes when it's all going to go back within months or years as if I was never there? Exactly. So even in 2019, that was my thought process. And since then, I've been hearing comments and advice and stories from people of them saying, that's not necessarily it. We need to do X, Y, and Z. We need to, someone actually expressed to me, when you go to America and you come back to Nigeria, you should understand the economic differences between America and Nigeria and live within the means of Nigeria until you can live outside of those means. So if I'm in America and I know that when I turn, like I flick my electricity on, it's gonna stay on until kingdom come. But when I go back to Nigeria, I don't know that my electricity is gonna stay on for the entire day. You know what I mean? I I shouldn't let that deter me from living in Nigeria. I just need to adapt. If I'm really trying to make the change that, I say that I am, but being aware of both. So like if you feel like no electricity, and this is just, a small comment. If consistent electricity is the end all be all for you, then recognize that, Nigeria may not be the place for you yet, because of course we're going to be getting more reliable electricity, by fire, by force in 2024. I'm just saying that. But
Amen, though. From your
no,
mouth to God ears, for real.
exactly. But like that, these are the different comments from people. These are the things that I've heard from people. And it doesn't even matter what ethnic group or what tribe they're from. A lot a lot of people share the same ideas and share the same concerns. So I feel like listening and taking into consideration these concerns is just super important. And then, one of these days I'm going to have my crown and my sash on and I run into somebody that can actually make a standing difference. And I'm able to repeat those things that the people that I've talked to have said to me. I'm able to advocate for them and quote unquote represent them because they're not in those rooms. The rooms that I'm in, God willing, he puts me in rooms that, I'm surrounded by people that actually make the change, and I'm able to advocate for my people properly. So yeah, that's how I feel. It can be nerve-wracking, but I also love stories and I love listening to people. So it's kind of working with like who I am. I guess the nerves really just come from, is it really me that is going to be able to speak for everybody or speak for some people? And I'm growing into that.
Hmm. So I'm going to tell you a story because it's the story that runs my entire life, right? But it's called the starfish story. Have you heard of it before?
I think I have, but I don't remember exactly what it did.
I'll remind you, and I even want to say it for my listeners. But it goes like this. There was this young girl on a beach, and the tide had come up, bringing all the starfish on the shore, right? And then the girl starts taking each starfish, and throwing it back into the water. And a man comes and is like, "Don't you see the hundreds of thousands of starfish on this shoreline? You won't be able to put all of them back. You're not even making a difference." And then she picked up one starfish and she threw it back in the ocean and she said, "Well, I made a difference for that one." Picked up another one, threw it back, said, "I made a difference for that one." Did it and continued and continued. And I think that sometimes it's like you're facing such a big, momentous situation, problem, circumstance. And some people, they shy back from chipping at the mountain. But the mountain will never get smaller if there aren't people chipping at it. And hopefully, by God's grace, it does get smaller and does get smaller to the point where it diminishes entirely. But I have now promised that for anything that I can do, I will be that young girl throwing starfishes back into the ocean, no matter how small it is. And I love hearing that is what you're trying to do as well. This is beautiful work. Oh, are you still here?
Yes, I am. I honestly, I'm just like my jaw's on the ground. Like, I don't think I've ever heard that concept explained with that story, the starfish story,
Mm-hmm.
but it's literally so beautiful because it's not an over exaggeration. It's
Yeah.
literally you do matter, and the small the quote unquote small things that you accomplish, the few times that you're able to make a change or like help somebody, you really are helping to shift a
Yeah.
society, you
Yeah.
know? Or to completely solve like a problem. And so I'm going to have to keep that one near and dear to my heart because I'm going to need that reminder several times. I needed it, months ago, but I'm definitely going to keep it with me now. I love that. And thank you for sharing that story with
No
me.
problem. You are doing an amazing job. But I do have another question. So outside of Miss Nigeria, what does Udeme do? Like, what does that look like? Who are you?
Oh, um, I'm 5'7". I'm chocolate. I'm
Mm-hmm.
180. I'm kidding. Um, I like to, I kind of like to describe myself, like I said briefly, I love stories. So I really am someone that likes to listen to podcasts, read books, watch movies, watch TV shows, like just experiencing the world through the eyes and or the hands of like other people. Definitely something that I really love. And I don't know how, like, I feel like that just shapes me. Like, I really like listening to people and like experiencing new things. I like to travel, but like on a professional side, like I'm an event planner. I have my own event planning business. Although it's not full time right now, I'm trying, ever since I moved to Texas, I've been slowly but surely trying to reactivate my business. I've been in hotels, hospitality, and tourism for the past 6, 7 years. So that's like my day to day type thing. But my passion is in event planning. Mainly, what I like to do was, since I have so much experience in hotels, I would plan weddings for like cultural weddings. So, like Indian weddings, Nigerian weddings. I've done Liberian weddings, Ethiopian, Zimbabwean weddings, and helping be a liaison for them with hotels because a lot of times there are traditions and expectations on the couple and family side that hotels not only don't understand or sometimes they just don't have the capacity to really figure out how to maneuver around their expectations and their rules to fit what the couple needs. So because I had experience in hotels and because I have experience in being, part of a culture that has very specific needs for weddings, I would I would actively bridge that gap and try to help the hotel help like my client as best as possible. On top of that, I'm also very passionate about like fundraisers and like nonprofit. Like I really like galas and like dressing up and looking pretty. So being able to put those on for different nonprofit organizations is definitely something that I'm passionate about and I absolutely love doing. And then lastly, which is a little bit more recent, I'm actually the Aquarium Association here in the United States. It's a nonprofit with like over like 1,200, 1,300 like members. I'm on the board of trustees for that organization. So trying my best to try and I keep saying try because when I tell you it really is a struggle. Like this challenge is challenging. But being a part of the shift in our organization into the next upcoming years, especially when it comes to unity, like unifying Nigerians in the diaspora, being unified as Akwa Ibomites, because I can't speak for any other state except for Akwa Ibom, just because that's where I'm from. It's still very confusing to me why the different tribes and the different local government areas in Akwa Ibom have have a hard time being fully unified. When we are Akwa Ibomites, we are Akwa Ibomites. But when I am a BBO or when I am Oron and someone else is Anang, someone else is, the divide is just very apparent. And so I'm still trying to learn why that is. And if there's going to be a way to highlight our differences in a more positive light while celebrating our similarities and really shining that light on just the fact that we are Nigerian and shining the light on just the fact that we are Kwaiwamites. Because I don't feel like we should, what is the proper word? I just don't think that we should have like strained relationships with one another when we are all from a Kwaiwo. And like I said, I'm still trying to learn. I'm still trying to hear different sides of it because most of the time I'm either with Oron people or I'm with Ibibio people. I don't know a lot of Penang people. I don't know a lot of people that, aren't Ibibio or Oron. So I still need to really investigate and see where this stems from and see if it really is as much of a problem as I interpret it to be. Maybe I'm just being extra and everything is perfectly fine. And then we can just keep moving forward on being unified Akwaibom minds. But maybe there really is a little bit of a divide within our people. And I would want to learn and see ways to influence our youth to not have those divides. Because the only way we are going to survive as a people in the coming into, the next decade is with unity. And we have to tell the youth now, we have to tell the people that are in primary and secondary school now that, if you're a Kwaibom, if you're Ibibio, your Yoruba and your Igbo friends are just as amazing as you are. And you are just as amazing as your Yoruba and Igbo friends. And I said it like that for a reason, So that's how I feel. But that's who I am on the outside. Like when I'm not, Queen Ting, I just a regular girl that likes stories and likes advocating for unity of our people.
I think you're pretty cool. Our lives are actually very, very similar. We'll talk about it later, but yeah, our experiences are very similar. I've also worked, our experiences are very similar. I do have a question, but this is a selfish question. I'm 23 and I'm wondering if you could give advice to your 23-year-old self, what would you say?
This is wow. This is a really good question. 23-year-old Udeme. At that time, I'm transitioning into going to the University of South Florida. I am high key in the dumps because I wanted to finish my undergrad degree at Florida International University in Miami, but I was not disciplined enough and I wasn't focused enough on my academic that I had to transition to a different school, restart. So my advice to 23-year-old Udeme is, I feel like it seems so basic, but like really just keep pushing. Everything happens for a reason, and you're never gonna know until it presents itself to you, and it's not gonna be on your timeline. So with what you have and with the drive that you have, because you have a drive, baby girl, keep pushing. Keep doing what you believe is right. Enjoy yourself, but don't enjoy yourself too much. And then, honestly, love on your mom. At 23, 100%. 23-year-old Udeme, love on your mom, please.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I have 2 more questions left, so we are rounding up. But this one is, what message would you give to younger girls who want to follow in your footsteps and make a positive impact in their communities as well?
Take space. And I will admit I got that phrase from Zosie Bini Tunzi. That was her response during the Miss Universe pageant. The question was like, what do you want us to tell? Like, what do you want young girls to know or youth to know? You have to take up space. You have to yell. You have to shout. And when you're yelling and shouting, smile and look cute while you do it, because people will listen to you a little bit more. And I say that recognizing that that is the least fun thing for me. If I'm really passionate about something or I'm really angry about something and I want to talk about it, I want to highlight it, I want to like hammer it home for people to recognize it's important for X, Y, and Z. I have to be friendly while I'm saying it. I have to be friendly while I talk about it. And my voice has to be really nice and pleasant while I'm talking about the atrocities and the fact that, women don't have the rights that we're supposed to have, or women are, seen as lesser than. Like, when you're doing it, play the game and be pleasant. There are human beings, there are women, there are young girls that are very pleasant, that are soft spoken, that fit this mold and will go very, very far. But if you're kind of like me, although I do believe I'm a genuinely nice person, when I get passionate, my voice gets deep. I start talking fast. And I get really hyped when I'm talking about things that I'm passionate about. So for the girlies that are like me in that sense, continue to take up space. Don't feel like you shouldn't talk about what you're passionate about, or you shouldn't advocate for what you're passionate about because you get, super passionate about it and you get kind of, I don't want to use the word aggressive, but like, you get kind of hot. Just recognize how you're talking and what you're saying and read the room, but never shut yourself up for anybody else. Continue to advocate, continue to fight. Just do it with a smile and
Yeah.
giggle sometimes, and people will listen to you a little bit more.
Yeah.
Those are my 2 cents.
You were speaking straight to me. I don't know about anybody else that's listening to this, but I've claimed it. Because that is definitely what I'm learning now. Like taking up space and how to do it properly from a power position instead of a defense position. And learning the psychology of that as well. Thank you. Okay, last one. Last question. And that is, what are your aspirations for the future, both in Miss Nigeria USA and in your personal life? What do we have to look forward to from you?
Want a husband and babies.
They're coming.
Thank you. Amen. Truly, in my personal life,
Yeah.
I want to continue to advocate for the empowerment of women in our youth, especially in Nigeria. I also want to dive into the hospitality and tourism industry in Nigeria, because I am not sure if we are utilizing our resources when it comes to hospitality and tourism. I don't know if we are truly utilizing our resources the way that we should. That's why I just want to learn more, because I can't stand here and speak on something that I don't know. So, but I can speak on what I want to learn more about. And then if my assumptions are correct, take the experience that I have from the past 7 years in the industry and see if, we can switch it up a little bit. If how it's possible to make it a little bit more tourist friendly in Nigeria without changing Nigeria, you know, making it a little bit more tourist friendly while evolving ourselves for the betterment of our people. So that's personally. Pageant wise, as Miss Nigeria USA, I just want to continue to meet new people, talk to people about the Nigerian diaspora, about the African diaspora, and really seeing how we anticipate unity to present itself in the upcoming years. And while I'm doing that, I would definitely, if I have the chance, I would love to change the stigma behind pageantry. Like, I don't want people to think that pageantry is just about being super skinny, being in a bathing suit and walking and stuff like that. There are pageant queens that are literally doctors, that are, I don't think, well, like colonels and generals in the army. They're UN ambassadors. They are like amazing human beings, but we just like wearing fancy dresses and like having a lot of makeup on like every once in a while. You know what I mean? So working toward really seeing a light in unifying our diasporas whilst breaking stigmas against, pageant girls and the pageant industry. That's those are my plans as Miss Nigeria USA.
Amazing. Amazing. And I'm just going to throw it in there. I want to come to the wedding. You're talking about event planning. I know it's going to be an experience. I want to take it.
You're already on the list.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And now we are done, but you get to ask me a question now. So do you have a question for me?
So when are you going to do your pageant? Like, I feel like I've been talking about pageants a lot. You spoke to a couple pageant queens. We need to get you. There are a lot of really awesome pageants that I can send you a whole entire list. I have them, and some
Okay.
of them are actually based in the DMV. You're not gonna be able to shut me up. I'm telling you right now. We need people to talk about this.
Okay. Okay. If you think I can do it, I think I can do
I know you can do it. I know you can do it. I've seen your Instagram.
it. Okay, we'll talk about it off the podcast then. And now, tell us where we can find you. Tell us who you are. Tell us everything, your event planning, everything, and how we can help you here at the table.
So my personal Instagram is Tony, ToniTonie. My pageant Instagram obviously is Miss Nigeria USA, no spaces, no underscores or anything like that. And then my event planning Instagram is Gifted Engage. My company is called Gifted Engagements. So the Instagram is a little bit shorter, Gifted Engage. And I feel like letting me know when there's like events or when there's like festivals or when there's like galas or anything like that happening for the African diaspora, for the Nigerian diaspora, like just sharing different gatherings. 'Cause I believe that, my passion of event planning comes from recognizing the importance of social gatherings and things like that for camaraderie and for unity. So that is a great way to, keep me connected. And then everyone can stay connected with me by using the social medias that I've already shared. And then keep an eye open. There's a lot of things that are going to be coming in 2024, coming from this space, coming from Miss Nigeria USA. And I would love for people, pageant enthusiasts or otherwise, I would love for people to be a part of some of the things that we have coming up. So definitely follow, reach out. I'd love to connect with you and also see what y'all are doing. Like whatever at the table is doing, I'm down for it. Like maybe like a reunion party.
Yes. Okay.
Don't do it. No African consumption.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that. No. Okay. Well, I'd love to do something in Texas. Look, I ain't never been, so.
Yes, we are definitely going to talk about this. We're bringing you to Texas.
Okay. Okay. Udeme, thank you so much for coming to the table. We really appreciate you and you sharing your story and being vulnerable. I'm really excited for partnering with you and what's going to come after this. But thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for reaching out to me. And I'm excited to see some of the conversations that you have in 2024. I know that you are going to have some great people, some great minds on the show, and I'm ready to hear it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. And 3, 2, 1.